feel like when you and I came in, like it was kind of like it felt like a little bit of an alpha and an alpha in the room, and there's that like, you're coming for my pride.
We've never evolved to realize that we're all going to die one day. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's a shock every time it happens.
But there's a small country in the islands, and they actually like acknowledge death is coming like on a daily basis.
Need
and they
to.
say that these people are the happiest. It's always the balance of entrepreneurship. More sales, more people. Anyways, welcome everybody to the show. Welcome to Tango One Podcast with Tony Smith and my co-host Mike DeFazio.
What's up?
Today we're bringing on a guest. We got John Tregaskiss, Tregaskiss, if you're looking for him on Instagram. He's the owner of Montessori. There's a lot of Montessori, so we'll get into which one is on him.
Yep.
He's a father of four, a husband, a leader, a community leader, and a guy who like does a whole lot of things for a whole lot of people. So welcome to the show, Johnny.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Been a long time coming.
Absolutely. Yeah. I remember you inviting me a long time ago. Just the timing didn't work out. And then you reached out to me recently. And I'd really regretted not being able to do it the last time. So I'm happy I'm here today.
Yeah, it's great. Well, it's great to have you. And, it was a little bit delayed. And I understand, it's kind of like I know there's some things you wanted to say before we get started. You went through some serious loss and you've had a real hard go. Yeah. And, yeah. So.
Well, I mean, Mike and I were just talking too about 2024 being a bit of a crazy year and getting through a lot of emotions this year.
Yeah.
And, things have come up this year that have probably been buried for a long time and have come to the surface and are getting out. And, it started in January with my dad. My dad's I'll go way back here. My dad lost his leg to cancer in 1969. Okay. He was 18 or 19 years old. Lost his legs cut off. And he was told he had 2 years to live. Okay. And 57 years later, it finally caught up to him in January. And my dad he battled his ass off every single day throughout his entire life. And at his best, he was the guy that brought everyone together. He was the guy that could make everyone have that nice big belly laugh. And the leg thing never held him back. It was never something that I never noticed was different with him. I watched him ski down Whistler Mountain. I've seen him scuba dive in the Cayman Islands. I've seen him get a hole-in-one. Nothing held him back. But after 57 years, all of his soft tissue is getting really beat up. So his shoulders needed to be repaired. He had a knee replacement. And he wasn't doing as well for the past 4 or 5 years. And so he still tried to get out to all the events. He was pretty much wheelchair bound. But he still tried to get out to every kid's birthday, every little dance event. He'd be there, and he'd never be able to stay long because he was just in so much pain, and he'd have to get home. And in January, we were with him, and he got a bone scan done, and his body was just covered in cancer, like everywhere. You look at his bone scan, it was hard to watch. It was like just lit up, black spots everywhere, through his shoulders, through his vertebrae. He had a broken vertebrae that he'd been dealing with without knowing about because the cancer had just kind of torn it apart. His arm was completely covered in cancer everywhere. But because he'd been in so much pain his entire life, it wasn't anything new to him to feel that extra pain. Like it's supposed to be excruciating,
right?
The amount of pain.
I've heard that.
Yeah. And he just looked at us with these soft eyes, and he said, "It's okay, guys. I'm tired. I'm ready to go home." And he looked up at the sky, and he said, "Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God." And we're like, he's comforting us. You know what I mean? He's just been given a death sentence.
Chills.
And he's comforting us. So, the next few months were pretty wild, but it didn't take long for him. He wanted to do all the care at home if he could, and it didn't work out. He had a fall at home. He was just trying to reach for something off his chair, and he fell. And as soon as he fell from a chair this tall, and his humerus broke, spiral fracture, because it was covered in cancer. And he had to go to the hospital. And at this point now, he's got one leg, one arm, and he's kind of bedridden, right? Like he needs 2-person assist to get around. And I'm telling you, like, people would come and visit, and he's got his headphones on, and he's singing his favorite songs. He's bringing in record players, and he's like, he decorated his hospital room with his favorite artwork, and like, it was wild to watch. And like, how do you not get strength through all this? Like, how do you not rally behind this guy? And it was a battle, but we were able to get him into the palliative care unit over on Prince Road, and they had a great staff there. I can't mention all the names. You guys all know who you are that helped us out, and I really appreciate it. But everybody was just there and supportive, and Dad ended up being their favorite patient to the end, because he was just who he was. Like he's just always battling, always being brave, and always leading with his heart. And like, I had a lot of resentment towards my dad for a lot of reasons growing up. Pain management is something he's been dealing with since the 60s. You're told you have 2 years to live in 1968. They shot him up with a ton of morphine after his leg. That moved into other drug addictions, other opiate addictions. And, he battled his whole life through pain management. And he wasn't always able to be like, the dad everyone else had because of that.
Right.
But he was always there for me spiritually, with love, with heart, with guidance, and how to treat people and how to always see the best in people. And that really shone through at the end. And so, that's been the last few months of our life. And he when he found out about his bone scan and he knew he had a death sentence, he asked my sister, he said he lost his leg on a Good Friday in 1968. And he says, when's Easter, Jess? And Jess looks at her calendar. She says, March 31st. He goes, I'm going to wait till Easter. We're like, you're fucking crazy. You can't just pick your death date. Like, what are you talking about? Wait till Easter. We're like, there's no way he's making it till Easter. He's covered. And sure enough, he perks back up over the next couple of weeks, and he's having a great time. And then it got to the point where Easter's only a week away, and we're like, he might have months left. He might have a year left. And sure enough, on the Saturday before Easter, he wakes up and says, Jess, when's Easter? Is it Easter yet? She says, not till tomorrow. He goes, I got one more day left. And he starts doing banded workouts in his bed.
Get out.
With a broken arm. And he's
Get out of here.
I swear. And he ordered himself the biggest dinner, and then he had pizza after that, and he had about 4 ice creams, and he went to sleep. And Sunday, Easter, he woke up, and he just never really was there. He just kind of stayed kind of in a hallucinatory state. He was kind of in a dream state. And he battled most of the day, and his breathing got more shallow, and he passed 5:15 on Easter, and we were all there, his children by his side, and he was holding our hands. His last thing he said to us was, I love you guys. And he took his last breath.
Man, that sounds like the way to go.
You can't ask for much more than that. He had his 75th birthday on March 20th. And we went down to the cafeteria, and I'm telling you, he was still in pretty good shape at this point. He's singing himself happy birthday, and we were done singing happy birthday. He goes, and many more, and it was only, 11 days later that he ended up passing. But can you ask for a better ending after all that? Like, he was tired. He lived more life in those 75 years than anyone else could ever imagine in 110, right? He conquered things that nobody ever thought he could. He surprised everybody with the things he could achieve. And he's an inspiration. And beyond that, everybody was drawn to him. Like, everywhere I went, we'd be in an airport in Texas, and people would be like, John, how's it going? I haven't seen you since this age or whatever. And so many people had reached out. Every girlfriend he ever had has been calling me off the hook to try to get a hold of him and tell him that he's the love of their life, the one that got away. His prom date is still a really good friend of our family. She was with him when he lost his leg, and she was with us through the whole process, and a super caring lady, and we're happy to have her. And yeah, my mom is obviously heartbroken, and his second wife is heartbroken, and his girlfriend now is really struggling to get through this. And everyone's just kind of rallied around him, and he had an adventure. He had a great life, and it's given me strength. It's given our family strength, and it's hard to be upset about anything when you realize how challenging life can be.
Yeah, I mean, at one point, I remember you coming in the gym and saying, like, I asked how things are going, and you said, expectedly rough. It's been tough. However, I'm having the best time I've ever had with my father.
Yeah.
And that was like such an interesting comment. I remember going home, and like, I love this gym for stuff like that. Like, it's a very pretty open community in terms of like how you feeling, what's going on. And I remember going home to Danny, and it's like one of those days where it's like, lesson learned. And it's like, and that then you have decisions like to make maybe later that week, and thinking and hearing stories like this. It's like, you know what? yeah, tonight I'm real busy, but I think I'm gonna go drop my parents for dinner.
Right.
Do you know what? I think there's so much to be taken from other people's hurt, other people's hardships.
Yeah.
Like to spin into a positive. And I think like at the end of the day in life, it's like if you can take what the hardest was for you and make it into positive for somebody else, then you've created a legacy of like, inspiration and motivation through hardship.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was a difficult time to get through. But like I was obviously, we're obviously heartbroken and we're sad to miss him, but he said no crying at my funeral, which he didn't get what he wanted, but but we were told we put the
not with these three guys. There's three guys in one room that would never be able to do that. It's right here. We're crying before we started recording.
We're almost crying right now. I'm like, damn, this story's so good. I didn't want to like start on a sour note, but like this is a story of inspiration. Like we ended up putting the fun in funeral. He hired a.
That's amazing.
We had a live band at the funeral. His best friend was there on drums, and they did fantastic, playing like bluesy stuff. So you open up this funeral, and even the receiving lines and all that during the visitations, we did nothing typical, not the typical receiving line where sorry for your loss, blah blah blah, and everyone moves on. We just it was very informal. My sisters and I kind of spread out. Everyone that we knew came and gravitated towards us. Was able to tell good stories about Dad, tell jokes about Dad. And then the funeral itself, we started off with some music, and then we all did our speeches, more music, a nice luncheon after, and it was just fulfilling. Like it was soul cleansing, and he was happy to go home. He was ready, and so it's nothing to be sad about. There's a sad thing that happens when you're not going to make any new memories. But all the memories you have together are there forever. You get to keep those.
Right, man. I mean, he sounds like an incredible man, and I'm sure he's proud of the man he's created, right?
Yeah,
and
he was.
And I know, that's why you are on this podcast, right? Is like your willingness to kind of open up. I feel like in the last 7-8 years since I've known you, since we kind of first opened, you were in the initial group of, you were probably in the first 50 people to join the gym. Your wife, Melissa, and you. Mostly you back then. You started coming just on Monday nights or something when I used to have my man nights or Friday. Yeah.
Mondays and Fridays.
And and I feel like I've watched you kind of grow as a man. Like, how old are you now?
43.
43. So like not much younger than me. And I think we were kind of moving through that same kind of systems at the same time. Like I feel like when you and I came in, like we weren't like as close as we are now. Like it was kind of like it felt like a little bit of an alpha in the room. And
for sure,
there's that like the like you're coming for my pride kind of like I don't know. And like says, then having both of us with our businesses shut down during COVID, or completely obstructed during COVID, I think that's what we bonded and started.
We had a lot of commonalities between us.
And I feel like you and Melissa, you guys put the fun in everything. Like when you guys show up to a workout, you're smiling, the culture here goes up. When you guys I watch your shift things, we know all your staff because you've been so like supportive of the garage gym, but of your team. Like the guy gives all of his team gives a gym membership. Like they're in here, like so we've got to know these people, and you can just see the beaming that starts like from the top that works its way down. So if you're paying tribute to your father every single day that you step in anybody's life, so just keep it up, man. I'm super proud of you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And like on that, there's growth that happens, right? Like in your 30s, you got a bit of an ego. You're just like this alpha thing, like you said. And then by the time you turn 40s, you realize it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to let your emotions out. That doesn't take your manhood away to, show that side of you. If anything, it makes you stronger.
Yeah, I was going to say, it makes you stronger doing that.
Yeah.
Dealing with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. First of all, sorry for your loss, but
thank you.
But that story is incredible.
Yeah.
And what I found very interesting was when you said you're like back in 60, whatever, when he had his leg amputated, he had 2 years to live.
2 years to live.
And it's like, I'm like, the only thing that kept crossing my mind when you were telling the rest of that story is like everything that he was dealing with from that point on is I got 2 years to live. I'm going to make the best of it.
Make the best in 1968, 69.
Yeah,
so what are you doing?
That's a lot. You know what I mean? That's a lot.
With access to morphine and any other drug you ever wanted.
So it's almost like I can see it as like, I can see it two ways. Like you can, depending on the perception you decide to have with that statement being true for yourself, right? Like, do you try and get your things in order, be not so sad, saying your goodbyes constantly, or are you like raging to get as much as you possibly can out of it, because it seems like you did the latter.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm going to make the most out of life because of this, because I think a lot of times we forget that we're going to die one day, and we're just getting stuck in the boring, the safe routes, and just or even sometimes the easy routes, because it's just the easy thing to do, not knowing that the harder thing might be the most fulfilling thing, or it might be like, I'm looking at what that doctor said to your dad back then as like almost like a blessing. I mean, that sounds crazy, but like, if you decide to see it that way, you can look at it that way.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like he lived his whole life like, I only got 2 years left, and then he just kept going.
Like every day's a gift.
Every day's we all like we've never evolved to realize that we're all going to die one day. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's a shock every time it happens.
You read The Comfort Crisis, with Michael Easter?
No.
Oh man, great book. You got to read. He was on the podcast, this guy,
Yeah.
and like there's I'm gonna like do this a complete injustice, but there's a small country in the islands, and they actually, like, part of what they do is to acknowledge death is coming, like, on a daily basis. And they say that these people are the happiest. They own land.
Yeah.
They acknowledge death, and they're close with their families, and they get outside every day. And these people have the longest like life expectancy because of that, because they're living for the day, and everything that happened yesterday is already like counts towards your death. Like that's already done. It's already dead. It's
just like that. And it's all about making those moments as quick, like as important as possible. So like for me, if I'm doing daily mundane tasks all day, my DVR, my brain doesn't even fucking turn on. So then when you look back at your life, it seems short because your DVD is short. There's nothing on it. Mm-hmm. But when you're doing new stuff and going on vacations or doing traveling or just meeting new people and going to new restaurants, your brain is active. Your brain records those memories. And they're all on your DVD. That's all on your tape. And your life seems a lot longer. So life's not short when you're busy, when you're active, when you're making new adventures, when you're doing new things, meeting new people. Your life is long. It's like, fulfilling. When you do the same fucking shit every day and you just go home and you watch TV and you just go to bed and you do the same thing over and over again, your brain stops recording.
Right.
There's nothing on your tape. So life's short.
It's a good way to say it. You know what? I had a friend today said something to me, one of the members, good friend, and he went to a funeral of a 52-year-old man. And, that's I'm 45, coming on 46 real soon. And, he said he came home and he booked a trip. Like, that's exactly what we're talking about, like, with your dad. Like, that's, like, taking that negative and, like, your dad inspired that. This man's death inspired that. Like, that's I think that's, like, paying homage to the person who you just want to celebrate or mourn, however you want to look at it. In your case.
Yeah, it's like, Dad, is there any way you can put a list together for me of, like, 10 exotic locations that you want your ashes spread? Can you just sign this paper and say you want me to go to, like, Bali and the west coast of BC and maybe Hawaii? Where do you want your ashes spread? Like, just sign here. He's laughing his butt off.
That's awesome.
He was great to the end. And it turned out to be. It was obviously a very difficult 4 months for my family and I, and tough to get through. But just the support that's happened afterwards too. Like after his passing, I had no idea how many friends I had, how many close friends I had, the amount of people that reached out to give me hugs, to give us gifts, to surprise me for surprise coffee visits on a Sunday morning, and all of a sudden everyone's there for us, to support us through it, and we got this fantastic gift. Everyone I put in for a gift, for a certificate for, and you were part of it. You and Danny were part of it, and I really appreciate it. To Maidstone Tree Farm, where we can plant a tree in Dad's honor, maybe spread some ashes on it, and let his legacy continue. And it's been overwhelming. Just the amount of people and the amount of love, the amount of support that our community has. Like, I do feel like I've been trying to do a good job of giving to the community over the past, 10 years or so of my life. But the love that I've gotten back has been tenfold. And it's like, how do you not keep putting into the community when it all, like, I don't do it for that, but like the love is returned to you. That's true.
Yeah, for 100%. And I think that's where, like, leading into kind of what you do for work. Yeah, like that's kind of like a great segue.
Yeah. You got to talk about what you do for work.
Okay, so this is
I have no idea. I need to know what you do.
Okay, we explain John. So 1 second, we explain John our tactic with Mike. I bring Mike in every day for these podcasts, and I want him to know nothing.
I'm ready to rock and roll.
It actually makes it the best.
This is a wild story because, like, I had no intention of doing what I do now. So my wife and I own Bright Child Montessori School.
In Amherstburg.
In Amherstburg, Ontario, over on Cherry Lawn there. And we now have 30 teachers and 100 kids enrolled. And like we just went through our voicemails. We had 50 people trying to register, and it's like we have no space for people to get in right now. There's just like the demand is so high.
So it was like a private school kind of thing, or
It's a private. It's a childcare, but we go
Okay.
up to kindergarten,
Okay.
and we do things a little differently. So when we started,
It's like a daycare, but cooler.
It's a daycare but cooler. Yeah, exactly. That should be our slogan: daycare but cooler.
Hipper would sound, yeah.
So I was actually in automotive. I was a production manager at an automotive plant, and Melissa was graduating from dental assisting, and we had our second kid. She became pregnant with our second kid, Julia, and our son was about 4 at the time, and we were just young parents. We started very young, like in our early 20s, and we were just doing what everyone else does. You go up and down the snack aisle, you get the kids snacks, you feed them chicken nuggets out of a box, and do what everything else, right? And so Bray was not, when he started kindergarten, they were like, your kid might have ADHD. Like, you should probably go to the doctor and get him tested. And so that was the first time we started doing our own research, because we weren't like totally on board with just medicating a 4-year-old. So we started looking at nutrition. We were making a ton of mistakes. He was covered in, food dyes and pop at night, TV nonstop. And we're like, this has got to end. So we made drastic changes to his diet, drastic changes to his schedule, put him on a strict routine of, bedtime, and got him involved in activities and everything else. And within a few months, this kindergarten teacher said, I realized you took our advice, and you went to see him with the doctor. He's made leaps and bounds at school. So we're like, okay, something's up here. Because we knew we didn't do that. We just changed nutrition. We changed sleep. We changed exercise. And he had changed. And so with Julia, she wanted to get her started into education a little bit earlier. So there was a Montessori school over on Front Road in Amherstburg, and Melissa said, I'm putting our kid in a Montessori school. I'm like, no, you're not. What are you talking about? We can't afford that. There's no way. It's like whatever it was at the time, the price was too high for us. So what does Melissa do? She gets a job at the Montessori. She just graduated, hadn't really joined the workforce yet for dental. So she gets a job at this place, starts by volunteering. They love her. They bring her on as an employee. She gets an employee discount to bring Julia in, and ends up working there for 3-4 years. And in the meantime, does night schooling at Lakeview Montessori School to get her teacher credentials to be a certified Montessori teacher. And over the next 4 or 5 years, she becomes a supervisor there. She's one of the most well-liked teachers there. And the owners of the place are kind of looking to get out of the business. So they kind of approach us for a sale, and we kind of go through it. But like, it was a rental building. The staff, there's a turnover of the staff. The kids, your client list isn't really valuable because they age out every 4 years.
Right. It's not like here. It's not like where we're keeping this.
No,
Yeah, right.
So what are you buying here? And the price was it just didn't make sense. So we told her that we couldn't do it. And the owner said, well, do you still want to own your own Montessori school? And Melissa said, absolutely. And she said, well, this is kind of a conflict of interest for you to work here now, so I'm going to let you go. So she's heartbroken and starts going on Kijiji to look at supplies for a school. And comes across a Kijiji ad for a turnkey Montessori school located in Amherstburg on Victoria Street, asking price $35,000. So this is something that was maybe 10 times more affordable than the initial offer that we looked at from the previous owners. Still a rental, but it's 1,500 square feet. Excellent reputation. The girl had been in town for 30 years. Excellent staff. The materials that were in there, like she had puzzle pieces that were 30 years old and every piece was there. Like, this is the type of place she was running.
And it's on Kijiji.
She was selling. She was retiring. It was on Kijiji.
You don't even know what Kijiji is, like.
Yeah.
This is before Marketplace.
No, dude, no. It is before Marketplace, but yeah, like I don't even remember what eBay is.
Okay.
Yeah, see that I'm that old.
Sometimes I lose our like age gap. I overestimate.
It is crazy, bro. Like I just realized you were 45.
Oh, yeah, all right.
Sorry, we're interrupting.
Just back on.
No, it's all good. So so $35,000. So we do some negotiating, and we go through the list and of supplies that she's got, and we end up settling, at a price that we were both happy with. And the other thing, like, she had 2 amazing employees as well. So she had Donna Bailey, who's still with us today, and Patricia Andrews, who was with us for a long time and has since moved out to BC. But I'll tell you more about that later. And And my dad actually helped us out with the initial loan, $30,000 to get the business. So now we got ourselves a little business. And Melissa is able to recruit most of her families from the place she was at. We made little changes. So this girl had only run a half-day program. It was like kind of only kindergarten age. And so we changed it to basically 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. So it opened up to a lot of people. And the capacity was 16 kids. And within a year, we're at 16 kids. So we ran that business for 2 years. Melissa ran it with Donna and Pat. And the former owner even stayed on for a few months to train Melissa on all the different little intricacies of running the place. And it was fantastic. And then in the meantime, I'm still working at an automotive plant, but I hate my life, right? Like I'm working 80 hours a week. I'm stuck on midnights at this point. I'd been given several promotions, which were great financially, but it got to the point where now I was like a production manager, which means like everyone on the floor hates you, upper management hates you, and you're kind of stuck in the middle, right? Like you're running the shift of 110 people, but you're caught in the middle of everything. Everything falls onto you. And on top of that, I was because I was the lower man on the totem pole between the 3 production managers, I was stuck on midnights. And my body just did not adjust to midnights well. Like I had a young family at home. They wouldn't let me sleep. I was coaching football. I was coaching hockey. So like you try to intertwine all this in your day. And you worked midnights, right? Like how many times are you driving home at 8, 9 in the morning and just like almost dying on the way home with your eyes closing, doing one of these like all the way home and realizing like you've been sleeping for 10, 15 seconds at a time on your way home? My body never adjusted. I was making some mistakes and not doing well, but I didn't love my life. My skin was green. I was getting health issues. I was starting to get tested for like ulcers and like all sorts of stress related issues that weren't well. But I'm coaching football, loving that part of my life, loving the dad side of life. And I coached a kid who lived on Cherry Lawn Street, Justin Guy. Well, Justin needed a ride to football practice, so I would pick him up every day on Cherry Lawn. He lives next door to where our new location is. And somewhere during the strike of like 2010, when Windsor shut everything down, they shut this building down and mothballed it. And this is now 2012. It's still shut down. I'm driving by this place every day, and it's 6,500 square feet. It was built by the government, so it's like brick walls, interior block. Everything's built fantastic. It's a school. It's a mini school. And I'm just putting out intention. We want this place. We want this place. We want this place. Intent. And I'm climbing up to the roof and looking around, and I'm looking at what we can do to it, and I'm looking in the windows. Intent. And I finally get a hold of the CAO of Essex County. That was the owners at the time. I said, we want this place. It wasn't for sale at the time. He did give me a tour. He showed me the blueprints. And so I picked up Justin Guy one day, and the for sale sign's in the front yard. The first day the sign went up, we put an offer in that day that expired at midnight. Got the building.
Nice.
And at that point, like before we did that, Melissa said, if we do this, I'm going to need your help. Like this is a much bigger operation. This goes from managing 3 employees to up to 30. This is going from 16 kids to 90. There is every ministry under the sun oversees childcare. There's a ton of administration work that needs to be done and a ton of renovating that needs to be done. So I need you. So fuck it. Leap of faith. Let's fucking do it. Made the change. And luckily the business is scalable. So we were able to take those 16 kids, put them in a classroom right away, then open up another classroom with 15 kids, open up a third classroom. And yeah, now we're up to 90 kids, 30 teachers.
It's crazy. And it's like the kind of place that you and like Lisa would love. Like,
yeah,
it's like kids like my kids. Like, it's like these, like, it's homeschool that's for people that don't have the ability to homeschool. Is essentially how I look at it when I've gone to visit you and when, you know, Danny's been there with our boys to just have fun for the day.
People love it. What we did is we made changes that were very odd in the childcare world. For example, an organic menu. Who would think of that for kids? You know? You mean
you don't have processed cheese and stuff?
No,
like,
no American cheese.
Before it was cool, man. Like before it was cool. Like,
and it doesn't necessarily mean organic, but best choice possible, right? Like we buy an entire cow from the butcher at Kingsville and get that slaughtered and have that in the freezer for us. And we get chickens as local as possible, and we'd get our vegetables as close to home as possible, and and they're just eating fruit, and they're eating homemade bread, and they're eating. We put 2 chefs in the kitchen so that like everything is scratch made.
I'm gonna sign up.
Yeah, it's
Myself.
fantastic. Oh, I eat there. I eat there
for
every day.
lunch, bro.
I'm eating there every single day.
Everybody can picture you riding that little bike.
Oh, damn
too,
right.
like,
Probably pretty
whipping
good at
around.
it.
And then
doing bunny hops.
And then we did something else that was cool. So Pat Andrews, who came with, who we initially met as an employee at the old place, she started an initiative called Natural Pathways Forest School, which you guys may have heard.
Yeah,
Natural
I've been out
Pathways.
there. That's the place I've been out to, right?
Probably.
With Trish and Winston. And
Exactly.
Stuff. Yeah.
So Pat approaches me and says, "I want to start this forest school back up. Would you be a board member?" Fuck it, let's do it. So Pat ran the place. I was the president, and the initial pilot program was our kids from Bright Child. So we sent our 24 preschoolers to the forest with Pat and a few other educators to run around in a forest, throw sticks, build fires, throw rocks in the lake, climb trees, and be kids. It was an overwhelming success. And people are like, well, what about the risks? What about the risks? The risks, the rewards outweigh the risk, okay? You need to have risky play in order to develop as a child.
For sure.
You have to. You have to give them challenges.
With someone like me, like I touch the hot stove to make sure that the person that told me that it was hot actually was being real about it. Like, I need to know if it's hot. I'm going to touch it.
Yes.
Like, that's how I learned, right? Like, I learned that way.
All of these things.
Yeah.
So, and you learn, like, you know, if you're waving a stick around and someone gets hit with it, well, now you've learned that you can't wave a stick around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was an overwhelming success, and that has grown and grown and grown.
My kids love that place.
It's so cool.
I love that place actually, not just my kids.
Yeah,
I
like how-
love,
like,
I
what's the
love
age
that
cutoff?
place.
Do I
We
still-
bring our kids out
6.
there.
You could pass as 6,
I can still
maybe.
pass and say, I'll shave my face and everything.
But like, you're doing things like you're building a fire with the kids, and then you're baking bread over the fire. So
on a
like you
stick.
bring dough and you put it on a stick, and you're putting the dough in the fire,
Yeah.
and it blows up to this nice little croissant, and then you add some cheese, and then you have some green tea, and like any kids that are a little bit borderline active or hyper, which we don't see much at our place for whatever reason, it's gone. It's gone. The needs are gone. They are in their element. They are quiet. There's peace spots. There's quiet spots. They're able to meditate. They listen to the birds. They're going on hikes. They have they come home full of mud, which parents might not love all the time.
I love
But
it.
it's all worth it.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the poor bus drivers, we get off that bus, it is fucking torn apart.
That's
The
awesome.
bus is like torn apart.
That's so funny, man.
But it's fantastic, and so that's continued. I just put the parent handbook together today for Forest Mondays, and Melissa is now taking over the Forest School program. She just is finishing up her Forest School practitioner course with the Child and Nature Youth Alliance of Canada, and so she is now the lead instructor through Bright Child. Pat Andrews has left to go to BC, and she's running a school in BC now. And so, yeah, now we're doing that internally. So we've done that. And then Melissa's also a children's yoga instructor. So we have children's yoga on Fridays. And the Montessori curriculum, which instead of teaching people what to think, it's how to think. Mm-hmm. So, we are developing the tools. We are giving you the tools that you need to learn how to think on your own, to solve problems on your own, and get through life situations on your own. Okay, we're not going to teach you
this is right and that's wrong. It's like,
right. Like instead of doing the ABC song, that's just a song. You can memorize a song. They teach them the sounds of the letters. Abba, could, like that's what they learn first. And it's working. It's absolutely working. You see these kids that work through the program, and then they go into the school board at grade 1. And they're the leaders in the classroom, and you see them go play soccer, and they end up being the leaders on the soccer team because we're so active at our place as well. And they're leaders in the community, whether they're going dancing or whatever else. We're seeing them succeed. Hockey players, and we're seeing these AAA hockey players that have graduated from our school, and it's like the parents are coming back to us and saying, we attribute a lot of this to what my son learned here. He learned how to think. He's quick. He's like, just like, it's hard to put into words. It's just like, there's a confidence that happens. There's, all the risk and reward that happens outside. The teachers are fantastic. Mrs. Bailey's still with us. The love that they get, the security they get, and the consistency, the routine, the nutrition, the exercise. It's very simple.
Right.
It's fucking simple shit, guys.
Yeah.
I have a real good friend, and he's up in Austin, Texas, and you and I have talked about the background.
Absolutely.
Of that, but his daughter was, like shut off, like she didn't speak, very just socially like unable to operate really, like in a lot of ways, and goes to this school similar to this but for older children. I want to say she was 7 or 8 at the time, and is within a year is like a complete different child. Being exposed to outside, being exposed to like not standing in line so much. Not that the kids don't stand in line anywhere, but like not being in line and leading the education, right? Like they go into these schools and it's like, what do you want to learn? And being mixed with ages. There's a lot
of mixed age groups.
A lot of like research that goes into like mixing ages, because like you and I talked about, me and you in a room as 35-year-old men, 2 alphas trying to figure out who's going to be in charge. And figuring out that the best way to do it is to lead together.
Exactly.
Right. Like that.
There can be more than one thing.
That's the stuff that's learned as children. Right. Through, hierarchy, through age. Like there is hierarchy in all groups. It's unwritten a lot of times, right? But it is understood. And the bullies, the protectors, there's all those different roles in these tribes. I think like mixing the children in, races, sexes, ages. All that. Right. We keep them, the age is always separate here.
Yeah, like so my grandpa used to be a school teacher. I don't know what year this was, a long time ago. And the classrooms were kindergarten to grade 12. Like what you were just explaining, like the kindergarten kids were learning in the same room as the grade 12 kids. Like everybody was learning like that. He was teaching this group of kids, right? And I can only imagine, because how much do you learn from your peers? Like, I don't know, I going through high school, like I feel like I learned most of the stuff I know through my peers instead of the teacher teaching, preaching, whatever you want to call it. Like, the guy in the front is probably not going to get my attention because I'm learning something over here, doing whatever. And I can only imagine what that would be like growing up in a classroom where there's someone like 7 years older than you next to you.
Yeah, I would love to do it in older age groups. I don't know if the business plan is there in Amherstburg just yet.
Yeah.
Like maybe a bigger community we could get away with it. Amherstburg, we are up to age 6.
That's awesome.
And so one of the nice things is the kindergarten class, for example, when you go to a grade school, they're the youngest ones, right? They're just like, there's big kids everywhere. At our school, they're helping the infants.
Right, they're helping.
They're helping the toddlers.
They're how important is that?
And they're becoming leaders in the school.
So important.
And they're developing confidence about it. And it's fantastic that they're able to do that. I would love to go up to primary ages. Again, it's hard to convince a parent to pay out of pocket to send them to us instead of getting free care through the school board. That is
just my selfish push. That's all.
Yeah. That is changing
as our children approach the area where we're gonna have to make a decision to send them.
So like, even the kindergarten program, when we first launched it, it's like, why would I send my kids to kindergarten to you and have to pay out of pocket when I can go to the kindergarten program at the big school? And it didn't take long for it to fill up, and then for parents to say,
the answer is I grew this broccoli. That's the answer.
Exactly. Yeah, we have garden. We grow our own gardens, and the kids pick all the weeds, and then
that's amazing. I'm so excited about this.
I mean, give these kids rubber boots instead of screens, and they're gonna have a better education.
Yeah,
in my opinion,
rubber boots instead of screens.
Right, they're gonna have a better ability to create, to make critical decisions. Like all the things that are really, really important. Everything else, like you're talking, can be taught, can be learned.
Yes.
Through not through interaction, but through books, through those kinds of things, memorization.
So you asked what my job was.
Yeah.
So there's teachers, we've got cooks, and then everything else. I'm the everything else. Okay, so it's raining, good. So whether there's a leaking roof, that's
don't
my
jinx
job.
me right now. That's all I'm thinking about. The roof's still not completely done here.
When the toilet gets clogged, that's me. When something needs to be renovated, that's me. When flooring needs to get changed, the administration, the HR, the payroll, the grant funding, the hiring, all that sort of stuff kind of falls under my umbrella. But my favorite part is being basically Mr. T. So I get to go walk around and all the kids are like, Mr. T, and I'll be around with my drill and I got to go hang something.
That's awesome.
Or like last summer I built a pirate ship for them. It's like 24 feet long, and
Thing
it's
is
like
sick.
it's the most overdone pirate ship you could possibly have. It's got like I've got pillars every 6 feet, and then 3 2x12 beams, stringers, and then 2x6 decking, and then it's got a second floor on it. And the kids just watched me build it all summer, right? And the kindergarten's like, when's it going to be done, Mr. T? When's it going to be done? And when it's finally done and the flag goes up, like, I'm their hero.
Yeah.
Like, what better
That's so
feeling is
cool.
that? And it's like, they go up on this thing and they're like, Mr. T built this for us. And it's got a little pirate ship wheel and the flag and a cargo net they can
That's
climb.
so cool, man.
Like, you can't beat it.
Yeah.
Like, that's the best feeling in the world. Or, this winter we had our bathroom hadn't been done since we moved in, and the building was built in like 72, so it was super dated. So we gutted it, and we got a bunch of Detroit red brick and did the walls with that, and then had nailers come in to do cabinets, and then we had DeMonte do some countertops, and then I put 4 toilets in, did the flooring, did the tile, and now it's like this Detroit chic bathroom.
Nice.
Do I need all that? No. But my employees love to work there now. Like, it's a good spot. They like being there. They
Right.
enjoy their jobs. And it's a cool spot. They're spending a lot of time in it. And so instead of going to this dated old dungy bathroom to change diapers all the time, now they can go into this like place that they feel like is home to them. And one thing we've done with our employees is try to make it their second home as much as possible. So like we want our employees to love working there. So things like vacation requests are never denied. As much like we've been able to put enough supply staff in place that I can work around the schedule of an at-home mom that works for me, a mom that works for us that has 2 young kids at home that might need to leave at 11 a.m. to go see their school play, or might need to go on vacation or whatever else. So we've ensured that our employees always have the time out of work, and scheduled their shifts around their lifestyle to make it good for them, to make them happy to be there. And people love to work there. We haven't had any major turnover in years, and all that put together, man. It's just making the right decisions. It's just doing the right thing the whole time. And I learned that from my dad. What they did at Tregaskiss, you create a culture, you make a place that doesn't feel like work, and people don't work a day in their lives. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so when you have teachers that love what they're doing, and we don't limit them to, we're told we can't touch the kids anymore. Well, too bad. They're getting hugs from their teacher. They're getting love from their teacher. These are all the things that we put in place, and it's been a wild success. And almost like we actually are not in a position right now to understand what to do with this success, because Melissa and I are very happy with our lives. We have enough money to raise our family in Amherstburg, go on a couple vacations a year. We don't want much more, right? And our school is busting at the seams. And it's like, why can't you do this somewhere else? Why can't you do more? Why can't you do this? Well, time, man. Time is money. To me, time is more important.
Yeah, I think time is the most important.
Time's the most important
all the
commodity.
time. This is what I'm always like harping on, probably Mike the most.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Is like, is focusing on the time and creating those, those everlasting moments in your life, and because there's only so many of them to go around. I agree with you, like 100% on that. Also, like thinking about it, like watching me growing here, there was a good strong period of 2 years where I felt like I went from knowing everybody to really knowing nobody.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have the infrastructure to grow, and
Sure.
the challenge of creating that infrastructure, and and now I feel like I'm completely back to the point where like there's not a person who will walk in the door at any of these locations that I will know exactly who they are.
Yeah.
Like
you went through a growth phase, obviously.
right,
That
and
was
like
tough.
so like you have to realize when you're dealing with children, you're dealing with people who, like you said, grow out of your business, right? So like if you lose that connection, you're gonna lose a lot of what you got, and with growth,
you're going to lose a part of that.
Yeah, so you either have to be like totally ready for the expansion, which means that you're spending money you don't need because you've hired resources that you can't really fill hours for.
Exactly.
Like which happened to me.
Huge investment.
Right? And then
Huge investment of your time, the amount of stress.
Or you grow and you're stretched so thin. So I mean, growth I think is like we talked about it with Paige. I'm trying to minimize the amount of growth right now and just make like the best of everything that's happening.
You want to have you need to have enough to support your lifestyle.
Right.
But then after that, Like I saw
I had to become like kind of budget Tony, not no budget Tony, like a little bit of a budget Tony. It's working on better.
minor budget. Well, I saw, my dad and my uncle at Tregaskiss had a ton of money, and it didn't make them any happier. The money didn't make them happier at all.
So like with what I do with my team and stuff, like I noticed very recently that like I think I care more about my team than I do about the products that we make, and and it's more like a employee or team based focused company where I want my people to be as happy and as stoked as possible when they're there. So like when you talk about expansion, it's like at a certain point
you gotta thin out.
But I have to find a way to be able to do more of it, because if it's money or if it's fulfilling the fulfilling feeling of like growing people into like amazing builders,
there's that,
but like you have to grow to be able to to sustain that, because if you just hire 15 guys, 200 guys to build furniture, it's like you need to be able to supply them with enough work, or it's just a dream that is going to die in their hands.
Yeah, I mean, it's always the balance of entrepreneurship right there, in my opinion, is like you're like, more sales, more people, making people happier, more opportunity to help more people, more sales. Like it's just like this like constant like cycle, and like more sales doesn't mean more profits. We know that.
Absolutely
and,
not.
Like, you talked about like with your team, like focusing on your like caring about your team more than your product. In doing so, you're creating your team to care more about their product.
Right.
So and that's what you do. Like
absolutely. But in caring for your team, it's like, well, this person is now able to do so much more, but I don't have a job for them. Like, so you're like, do I grow? Because this person could be a supervisor now easily. And then this person could have their own team under them. And then this person can now lead a classroom. And then I have these new recruits that are coming in.
It's natural. It's natural for
there's that guy. That guy sucks.
So you have to grow, right? Because like I got to a point,
you almost have to grow.
You have to grow because
or you're shrinking.
Yeah, because there's no chilling. When that line goes straight, you're dead. You know what I mean? So you have to grow. You're growing or dying.
Yeah.
And in doing that, and I'm speaking from experience, because I experienced a lot of success, and then I was like, this works. I'm just going to keep doing this. And it's been a slow decline. It's not chill. It's not just staying straight line. It's a slow decline. It's like, well, now I'm looking at it like this has been going slow decline for a bit now. It's like, what has to change, because I can't keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
It didn't work. It's a constant improvement. So you have to grow. You have to grow the team. You have to create new positions. You have to change your hats on your head, or you will die. The business will die at some point. So it's extremely necessary to be replacing your positions. But it's tough.
It's very tough.
Because it doesn't end.
It doesn't end.
So like, where do you go? Because it's like I understand where you get to a point where you're happy and you've got money coming in and you got a happy team, you got happy clients, and like the rainbows around, the rainbows behind you and the sun's coming out, right? But it doesn't stay there.
I know,
because you can't keep doing the same thing. So in doing that, like, what is the plan for expansion? Because it's you're gonna run into it. You have to do it.
Okay. So there's a couple. First of all, investment is ridiculous right now. Like doing this 3-4 years ago was a great time to invest in new properties. How are you going to invest $1.5-2 million into a building these days and not know if you can fill it? Number one. Number two, an election cycle comes up and the conservatives decide to fund the entire program a different way, and you have to completely change your business plan. I have 50 people on a registration on my voicemail trying to get registered, but it's like, can I scale it and still keep that same quality? Can I hire another Mr. T to go build pirate ships and fix toilets? Like, I can't do anymore. I'm stretched out.
I run into the same thing with me, because like people want me to work on their projects. They want me to build their table, and it's like I cannot. I have to build this with my guys now. My guys are doing a better job with me. And the thing is, if I tried to take on a project from beginning to end at this point, I would be doing the client a disservice, because there's too much on my plate.
Yeah.
I have to have team members doing it, because my team members are able to take care of you a lot better in certain areas as your project goes through the line, kind of thing. I can't do that. I'm getting pulled in too many directions, being the owner, being the Mr. T, fixing the pirate ships.
I was having this conversation with Danny the other day, and I don't know how it happened here. There was a point where I felt resentment from the members, like not in a terrible way. I just felt that uncomfortableness, the comments to like, oh, haven't seen you here in a while.
Yep.
Or thanks for joining us. Nice to see you
Do you
here.
still work here?
Yeah, those kind of
That one
comments,
sucks.
right? So like that, all of a sudden, I never hear that. Where I hear almost the opposite. Like, oh, it's so great to see you.
Yeah.
Oh, we love having you here. And like that tone in those comments has changed. And I cannot put my thumb on what we did or didn't do that has caused that change or that caused the latter that I spoke about. So it is a fine line being
That's
faces
part of the
our
growth, right? Like, because
organizations,
now
right?
you're in
Like,
Kingsville, now you're in Windsor, now you're in Amherstburg, and so there was probably that initial phase that happened where everyone was used to seeing you in Amherstburg every day, and now you're spread out in 3 different locations, right?
yeah, and as we age, like you and Melissa, there's going to be that like part
Sure.
of your lives where I'm sure you're going to want to start to phase yourselves out.
Absolutely.
And then how do you do that, right? Like, what do they call that? Goodwill, like your business, like not that you want to sell your business or anything, but like
Yeah, the goodwill.
yeah, the goodwill factor. Like, what are really our businesses worth without us? Like that's also a challenge, right? Because
Big
like
time.
if you're trying to like really growth is that this business will be passed on to whether it's your children, whether it's Austin or Nikki or Joe or somebody
Sure.
here or for you, you know, Tristan or any of those knuckleheads back there in the shop. Like, which one? Like, but that's like kind of the growth pattern we're looking at, right?
And you're just right. Like I've got 3 girls coming up, and they all kind of want to get in the same industry. And it's like, well, this place isn't going to support you 3. Like it supports me and your mom right now.
Right.
But you'd have to buy it from me. That's
right.
my retirement is selling it right now. So like, do I now make that investment so that they have something when they get older? I could. It's a huge risk. It's going to be a lot on me, but we could probably do it. But man, real estate just got so expensive so quickly, and it's like, ugh, it's just so much.
Don't you know?
Oh man, makes me sweat thinking about it. Oh, everything got expensive. Money got expensive.
Everything.
Like borrowing, trades, materials,
Right.
the interest rates, like the prices, everything. So
And there might be a lot easier ways to make money than childcare. I'm telling you right now. Like it is, there's a lot of things that go in and out of that to get the dollar at the end of the day.
all companies have it. Like I know,
Sure.
I could say the same thing about what we do because I know that we have problems with
Yeah.
it because like there's, especially because we're not in manufacturing, we're in like custom one-offs,
Sure.
right? So like whose brain is behind making this work for the first time?
Yours.
Perfectly when it goes to the client's house, because it goes to the client's house sometimes it's like, well, that actually didn't work out 100% as I planned. How would I even know that? It has to go to the house first. So we have like what we do now is like we have a guarantee, like if it doesn't work in the house, we're fixing it no matter what. And we call it our no nonsense guarantee, and it's like we will take care of you for life kind of thing.
Nice.
No matter what happens to the project. And because I can't know these things perfectly every single time. If you come to me with a sweet design and you want to build it for the first time, have the only one of something, there's no prototypes. Your piece is the only one. So like I have to build it in a way with my skill to know that it's going to work the first time that it goes there. So there's problems with that. There's problem with that. There's problems with being in childcare. There's problems with owning gyms.
For sure.
Like there's always going to be some sort of problems, but
But we're experts in that field now. We're probably best at that.
right, exactly my
To
point.
expand.
But in our field, in your field in particular, people that know nothing about it are the ones who get to make the rules and the laws.
That's wild.
That's what makes me crazy, man.
Oh,
In the
yeah,
world. Like
for
that's what policing felt like.
Oh
You're
my
like,
God, it's brutal.
You're like, I got a bunch of people that have never left a cubicle that are making decisions on
So
how we
we're
can
very lucky
operate.
because
My God, before we go, I gotta hear the mall story. Because everybody was
Oh, my
dying in
God,
the
okay.
gym, and I ran away from him because I'm like,
So-
I don't want to hear you coming on the podcast.
all right. So I had the best fucking weekend. My dad just passed the weekend prior, and then this weekend
That's a funny way to start. I had the best weekend, but yeah, keep going.
Yeah.
My dad had just passed. I'm down in the notes, and then the following weekend was the best fucking weekend ever. So it started with on Thursday, Sean invited us over for some golf simulator during Masters Thursday. Ate some steaks. Everything's good. Haven't opened up mail at Bright Child in a while, so on Friday I'm opening up mail. I find a $1,000 gift certificate or cashback check from Costco. Like, this is amazing! My points. Let's go. So I planned for Saturday morning to go to Costco and cash my check. 9 a.m. I'm going to be there. Not 9:05, 9 a.m. So I get there at 9 a.m. I get the last parking spot at Costco. I get some dog food and some golf balls. I got $750 in my pocket after cashing the check. Heading to the mall, getting myself some socks and underwear.
Nice.
Yeah, it's the best. It's gonna be the best day.
Yeah.
Head to Sport Check. I got like 8 pairs of beneath underwear, nice and crisp. Never been to the gym yet. Yeah. Fantastic. I got to get some socks, but they didn't have my size at Sport Check, so I got to head over to Foot Locker. So I'm heading over to Foot Locker, and I see a nice golf shirt I like at Lululemon. Stop at Lululemon, get the golf shirt, fits me perfect, nice and tight, good on the arms.
Yep.
But still like baggy, and head over to Foot Locker to get some socks. Get my socks. I make one quick little stop over at Bikini Village. I thought I saw something I liked. It wasn't that great. Ended up coming out. This is where shit goes down. Okay. So I see some commotion at the other side of the mall, like near American Eagle. And it's like bad commotion, like shit's going down. And people are kind of like scrambling a little bit. And you're like, you see shit on TV that happens at malls, and you always want to be that person that can help maybe in that situation, right, or stop something, right? Mm-hmm. But like, you don't know what's happening. And so people are kind of scrambling a little bit, and I can see what's happening. All of a sudden, out of that crowd, a guy comes running. He's about 6 foot, 190 pounds, and he's running towards me, towards my side of the mall. Behind him, there's 2 security guards chasing him and a cop chasing that security guards. So I'm like, fuck, something's happening here. So that guy's running down the corridor, and he's kind of zigging and zagging in front of people, and like people are getting flown out of the way. And I'm on the right side of the corridor, and he's on the left side of the corridor, and that motherfucker zigged when he should have zagged. I couldn't think twice about it. I just dropped my fucking hips. Boom! Blow him up right in the fucking middle of the mall. Just like, you guys remember like Office Linebacker, Terry Tate Office Linebacker? Yeah. The commercials? Just boom! Fucking blow the guy up in the middle of the mall. I can hear his soul leaving his body. He's like, he had no idea it was coming. Like I get him to the ground. I can hear his last breath, like, get him on his face, get my knee on his back. I start looking for weapons. I got him pinned down, and I'm patting him down, and the security guards come up. They're like, thank you so much. We appreciate it. We got it from here. So I get up, fucking standing ovation. The whole mall. That was amazing. Good job. And so this lady comes running up, and she's like, he stole all my bags. Thank you so much. And I'm a little bit dizzy, but I look, and my socks and underwear have gone everywhere. It's a fucking yard sale. Her bags are all over the place. She picks up her bags, gives me a big hug, and as I'm leaving, people are high-fiving me, and I'm passing the cell phone booth. They're like, you play football, man? You got to join my football team. That was the best hit I ever seen. And I was like, yeah, no big deal. And I get out of there because I'm very humble. I'm Mr. Humility. I don't need any credit. And I start walking away, and I get to like the bubble tea area, and I realize I got a bit of a limp. I'm like, oh shit, what's going on here? I look down, my shin's kind of bleeding. And I realize we probably high-load the guy. Those benches in the middle of the mall that are very stationary, very heavy? I'm pretty sure I took him out right over top of one of those things.
I got some friends. We might see if we can capture
Please
this
do.
video.
It's got to be good. It's got to be good. Because my instincts just kicked in. I didn't have a choice.
Right.
Like as soon as he started coming towards me, I'm kind of in a defense mode too, right? Like I don't know what he's got or what he's doing.
Yeah.
I just got to lay this fucker out and end it.
Yeah.
And so it was nice to know that when in the situation, when the time is there, that I was able to just fucking let it out.
Amazing, man.
That's awesome, man.
So that was it. And then, awesome. Once I got in the car, I was like, what time is it? It's fucking noon. I texted you. I'm like, what time's Strike Squad? I didn't go fucking
That's what you're talking about. Amazing.
I texted you right away. I'm like, and I got here. We pushed some chest around. I think I lifted the heaviest weight I have all year.
Oh, that's awesome.
I was high for a while.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of time, so I'm an idiot. My watch still says 2:52.
Oh, shit.
I hear the doors. So if you guys know at home, it's absolutely pouring rain outside. I can hear the doors rattling. I'm like, who's here so early at 3 o'clock? It's actually 4 o'clock.
Oh, shit.
There's a lineup of people in the rain. It's right out there.
Sorry, guys. We had to do the mall story.
So everybody who's listening, I know some of you guys listened. That's definitely my fault, my mistake. And John, it has been absolutely amazing having you on here. Your energy, your passion, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
You have some fun?
Yeah, it was good. It was good. I was a little bit anxious at first, but fuck, I think it went pretty well.
Great stories, man. You got some great stories.
Thanks, brother.
I think you're coming back on.
Yeah.
Has to come back on. Sure. Just be like maybe just sitting co-host.
There you go.
We're gonna bring Mike to Forest School.
Yeah, I'm coming in. Little Mikey.
And bring the kids to the shop.
There
Bring
we
the
go.
kids to the shop. That'd
There
be
you
great.
go.
Oh, that's a great
Hey,
idea.
you did that once with the boys.
Boom.
I like
That
that.
is a great idea. I'm the homeschooler.
Yeah, there you go.
For 2 rather than 90.
Yeah,
Man, thank you for everything you do for us,
Thank
for this
you.
community, for Amherstburg, but for the garage gym in particular. Man,
Thanks,
it's been
Tony.
awesome having you on here.
Likewise. Appreciate it.